So hi, hello, welcome. Well, I'm gonna give a super quick introduction about myself. I'm Juliana, I'm from Colombia, and I'm working here at Studio Dott. I started around 1 year ago, maybe less, 10 months ago. And when we're trying to discuss a little bit what we wanted to talk about today, we think like how or what is the main purpose about being a designer. So today we come up with this talk, and it's how we can transform field observations into impactful design, but how we can do this or why we want to do this, because we want, as a designer, always deliver impact. But like in all the experience around being a designer and within Studio Dott, what we understood that there are some hurdles trying to deliver this impact. And why sometimes it's delivering impact so hard? The first reason is because defining impact it's really hard, because we sometimes don't understand the client, the users, what we want to deliver. Second, because we have sometimes so many lenses and so many perspectives that we have to take into account. And the third one, and it's going to be our main focuses, because transforming field observations into impactful designers, sometimes it's not easy. It's not easy to cross these barriers about, okay, I have a bunch of research, now what I can do with this. So the first, defining impact. Sometimes defining impact, it's really hard, because sometimes it's a matter of speed, sometimes it's efficiency, sometimes it's quality, sometimes it's coordination, we don't know. And the only way to know what is the impact, it's through understanding the user. But this user or this target of users sometimes are in different contexts. For example, a restaurant, for example, a park, or can be more and more contexts, even hardest context to understand. So, yes, when we are on the stage of research and we want to go to the solution, sometimes we don't know how to connect the dots, and sometimes we don't know how to make these associations between what's happening in the research and what's happening in the solution. So today what we want to do is to close a little bit this gap through the insights, and using these insights as the starting to delivering impact. How? Always understanding that when we do some research, we think, okay, we saw this is what happens, this is what the clients did, then this is what we think, and so we are gonna do this. And yeah, this is gonna be our focus. But how do we start? We start through action, or to sparkle some action, leading some action. And for sparkle some action, it's really important that we don't give conclusions. We don't have conclusion as a designers, but we take decisions. And we have to help the different clients to take better decisions. So I come with 4 principles that it's a collection of knowledge of the team of Studio Dott about the different projects and the different experiences that we had that help us as a company, as a designers, to simplify taking actions. So the first one, it's understand the knowledge exchange. The second one, consolidate different perspectives. The third one, don't be afraid of being specific. And the fourth one, it's look back and validate. Always look back and validate. So let's start with the first one. So for the first one, what we need to think always when we're doing a project, and it's who needs to know what. This can, be associated with the user, also with the client, with the stakeholders. Do all the stakeholders really need to know everything? Do the users really need to know everything? Sometimes yes, sometimes no. This is up to us, and we need to be smart and use this knowledge very wise. So, because the knowledge, it's always scattered, it's spread around the different actors, it's spread out the different roles, different users, stakeholders, but we are the ones who have access to all this knowledge, because we know how to do it. We know how to make interviews, we know how to go to the context and talk with all the people and understand what is happening. And also, we know how to make the connections. But this is not enough. It's not enough making the connections if we don't translate all this knowledge into actions and into clear, and when we don't communicate it in the clear and transparent way to the people that we want and we choose to deliver it. So I'm gonna explain, tell you a little bit about an example in a project that we did for the Port of Antwerp, in which we have this big challenge about how we can help drivers deliver and pick up the load safely and efficiently. So the problem here was that in the Port of Antwerp, the truck drivers arrive, they want to pick the different loads, but they have to wait, and it's long hours of wait. They don't know where to go, they don't know what to do, they don't know which formats they need to fill. There's different boxes, there's different amount of things, and sometimes they also have language barriers. They don't have the entire information or the knowledge that they need to do. There's too much information, there's also scattered information. So when we see this, it's just a mess and it's confusing. But if we address these challenges through this question, okay, what they need to know in this specific moment, it starts to become easier to come up with solution, to do this jump about, okay, this is the research, this is the solution, and it's just, okay, we're gonna provide the information that they need in the moment they need it, in the simple way they need it, and let's put it in the most obvious way, because we don't need to invent all the time everything, because it is what it is. And when we solve it, we can also create more complicated solutions like platforms, I don't know, an app, but starting with the basis, it's easier to grow and build up the solution. So in this first principle, we as designers need to understand the knowledge exchange. And we need to be the translator of the knowledge, and we also need to actively manage the knowledge and take advantage of it, because we know everything that is happening around the context. The second one is consolidate different perspectives. So here the big question that we have to answer is, which perspectives do we want to take into account, and which ones are missing? Which gaps are missing around our investigation or research or observation? So here I'm gonna talk about an example. This is a project that we are actually working right now, and it's how, from the different municipalities of Mechelen, of Turnhout, and Antwerp, we want to create a platform that helps the different parents to look for kinderopvangs, so childcares for their kids, because they have to work, because they have to study, and they don't know where to leave the kids. And, well, the municipality helps you to do this. But when we start to talk about with the first parent, or also the municipality, the problem was, I need to find a childcare for my kid. But when we start to take into account all the different perspectives and talk with the different parents, we understood that they don't really know what is a childcare, and they don't even really know what or where to start. So what we understood is that we needed to go a little bit deeper and to take into account more and more perspectives, and to understand how the personas work. So I know, probably you already know the personas, like the description, a little bit the drivers, the touch points, but the most important thing here, in order to facilitate this decision making, to take this action, it's when you understand your user, you can also understand how they make decisions. And for example, here, somebody that has so many kids and they already know how to create, how to find childcares, probably the decision, it's gonna be easy. Point A to point B. But the one who is barely starting and it's more hesitating, it's gonna be go forward, go back, go forward, go back. It's gonna be complicated. And the last one, the last minute parent that doesn't know anything, it's gonna just going to work in loops and loops and loops, and it's going to be really complicated. So at the end, to help them, it's really important to consolidate all the perspectives that it's around of their context to make better decisions and to jump a little bit into the solution. So here, for example, we took also with the different together's, the different kinderopvangs, the childcares of the kids, and of course, a lot of different type of parents, perspectives, parents that doesn't speak the language, that don't speak the language, that have reference, doesn't have reference, amount of them. Because yes, if we want to give relevant advices, if we want to take relevant decisions, and also we want to wisely advise the client, we have to have a really broad perspective about what is going on. And here's the second example of how also the consolidation of the knowledge is really important. And we did this project here in Studio Dott, and it's for virtual museum, and it's for like the main challenge was how we can make heritage in Flanders easily and accessible to everybody. It's a really big challenge because all the citizens, there's a lot of citizens, there's people who doesn't care about it, there's people who loves it, there's people who doesn't know anything about what is a heritage in Flanders. So at the end we come up with a solution. Has an app, and you can go around the city, and if you go to the monument you can approach it and you can see all the information. But this is not the most interesting part. The interesting part is to understand the vision of the all citizens was going to the streets and talk with all the different type of people in all the different type of contexts. So we went like a bookstore to Decathlon. We left information around. So at the end we wanted to collect all the vision and all the perspective of the users, because we need to step away from the computer and go to the street if we really want to create impact. So for this second principle, we as a designer, we want to consolidate, or we need to consolidate different perspectives to engage a variety, to engage variety of users, define profiles clearly, step away from the computer, and being a little bit closer to make some action. The fourth principle is be specific. Don't be afraid to be specific. Why? Because sometimes, especially in digital design, details makes the difference. So we always tend to create this really big journey to understand how all the flow of the user works from the beginning. So the different moments, what are the recommendations? In this case, for example, it's the journey for the parents, like decision making. But when we're talking about digital experience, a moment or an interaction of 5 seconds, 10 seconds matter. So it's not like, okay, I'm gonna inform myself, but it's, okay, in 10 seconds, how many information I can gather? For example, if I read an article, or if I read a screen. So that's exactly what we did for a research, for example. And the main purpose of the research that we did was to understand which type of card in this platform for the parent who wants to find the best childcare for their kid gives more information and helps better to take decisions. So this is our different examples. So for example, here in this one, there's the different call to actions, there's direction, another one that doesn't have the address, the price. So here we wanted to go really deep into the details to make the experience even better. This is another example also from the kinderopvang, and here we understood, as I told you before, that parent doesn't really know where to start. So here it's, for example, which are the main, we thought like in our team, like, okay, if we could give them 5 tips about how to start or where to start, what they needed to start, to what we should deliver to them. So this is a little bit the screens about, okay, we're gonna gather all the information and we're gonna select wisely what we want to deliver to them, and this is what we create a little experience onboarding about how we can explain them better. Also because sometimes, I don't know if that happens to you, but small decisions can be the bigger barriers, and you can get stuck I don't know, for example, with the client or with the developers in really small details, and nothing goes away, and that's really hard to come through and like to go over it. So we as a designers in these principles, we need to be specific, and it's okay to think about also in the small detail, because at the end we need to find the piece in the puzzle that fits the broader picture. And for the last principle, it's look back and validate. All the time, look back and validate. And understand if we're still on track and we are still delivering the purpose that we need to deliver. So it's really important to always look back. And when we deliver a presentation with insights or with recommendations, it's not for delivering and forget about them, but it's always to go back through it and always go back and think, okay, which it's the main purpose of this, what we did, what were the basis of the investigation, of the research, and don't forget about the valuable insights that we already had and all the decisions that we already took, because we took it for a reason. And a really nice ways to do it, for example, it's a persona. Persona is a really good way to bring all this research into the entire process, because you want to make a change. Okay, what will this persona think about this change? Does it fit with their interests? Yes, okay, let's go, let's do it. It doesn't fit with the interests? Okay, discard it. Doesn't make sense to even think about it and waste time trying to make decisions, because this persona wouldn't like it. So yes, we as designers need to look back and validate, and yes, always, especially with the client, keep insights and previous decisions alive. So yes, we as designers, what we need to do is we need to understand the knowledge exchange and use it wisely. We need to consolidate different perspectives to make better decisions. We need to be specific to make the difference, and we need to look back and validate to always go through the right direction. Because at the end, yes, we don't come up with conclusions, we come up with decisions, we help the client to take better decisions, and it's taking decision, it's at least the first step to delivering impact. So yes, thank you so much.
All right, thank you so much. Any questions? No one? We have one in the back.
Questions?
Wait.
Sorry.
Pass the mic. Yes.
I was leaving the stage too fast.
We totally warned you that there was a Q&A, right?
Yeah. Yes, of course.
Thank you for the presentation. It was really nice. So thank you for your efforts.
You're welcome.
The two projects that you were showing, were you there from beginning to end, and were you like more in the research part of the UX or more on the visual designing part?
Yes, so in the one that I told you about the childcares, yes, I was since the beginning, and actually this is a project that is still going on. So in this moment, we already finished the phase of the research. We took with, yes, a lot of an amount of different type of stakeholders and also different actors. And actually it's going to be really useful, because now we have to propose the solution. So yeah, and the other ones, no, they're actually, here's a designer that participated in most of them. But
also the one that we showed of the Port of Antwerp, where we're only in the analysis phase. We need to come up with a definition of the possible solution, what it could become.
You're welcome.
Multiple hands now. Yes.
How do you? It seems like you. It seems like it's very hard to know in advance how much time you would spend on a certain case. I don't know. How do you approach this kind of problem?
Please.
So I will answer that question, since I'm the one that often creates the offers. So if I mess up, my team still gets the time to actually take as much time as they need to do it. But in general, we try to frame it to time boxes and to put a number of limitations on it and hope for the best. But in general, since I'm now about 25 years in the field, mostly my guesses are okay, but yeah, sometimes they don't. But it never goes at the expensive or it will never have an impact on the quality, because quality is the thing that matters most. So our people get all the time they need to actually come up with that quality. And afterwards we can take lessons from it and see whether we could have done some things more efficiently, or whether I will have to do better calculations and do a better sales with my customers. Other questions?
I have a question about how you engage people in public to talk to you, because usually when I do user research, just approaching people, they run away because they think I want to sell them something.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I'm gonna talk about an experience that I have with another project, and well, a really basic answer, it's food. but no, actually I think the really nice way to do it is let them people approach to you. And how you can let them people approach to you, it's to give them triggers that catch their attention, and also try to to ask some questions in which they don't feel like they feel that they can give you something to you, because you're touching like a little bit their needs. But of course, going to the street, it's always more challenging, and you have to take more time, and you have to be patient, and you have to calculate a little bit more time that you need it when you call the user, and to, I don't know, put the place and the hour. But yes, I think it's a little bit patience, and slowly, and yeah, I don't know if.
There was a question right behind or right next. Who else?
We also say that being interactive is also good. Like the example we showed for the virtual museum, we created like a setup with two sides where we asked people to do interactive things, so they could create a collage. They could select a card, which was like a postcard, which also helps in not having the feeling that you're trying to sell something, because there's more the feeling of just handing something out. So, that also helps a lot.
Okay, I have a question. Like, how many people usually work on average on a project?
I would say that one as well. We're a team, always. The most important thing here at Dott. It really depends. The project of the virtual museum, which came at a very tight deadline as well, we worked upon with even about 6 to 7 designers at a given moment in time to do a number of the analyses in parallel and things like that. We had the strategic designers working on parts of it. We had our digital designers working on the first project or product definition. So those were plenty. If we look at kinderopvang, childcare, for example, there we are working with 2-3 designers currently. Again, because with all the municipalities, they want to do a lot of interviews also because of the getting the buy-in of the various stakeholders. So that's important. AT also about 2 to 3 designers. So yeah, in general, we're working with at least 2 designers on a project.
Hi, to any one of you want to answer to me. About the UX design process, depending on the port or on the family that are looking for the childcare, when you stop looking for quantity, when you decide that the information you've got is enough to say it's a good quality result, we can use as insight.
Yes, actually, it's a really good question, because something that we struggle in this project, or something like a really takeaway that we gather here, it's like we came to the client, like the client, we give the offer to the client, like, okay, this is going to be the methodology, at the beginning we like to speak with the client, and the client was like, okay, but maybe it's not a good idea, so maybe you can speak like 4 people for each of the users. And in a certain point, they start to see the insights, and they start to see like the information that we collect, and they started to create a bigger amount of interviews because they're the one who contact the client. So, for example, every Friday with Ellen, another colleague, they were like, okay, you have 8 more, you have 9 more. I really want to go to this client because to this Kinderbank, to this childcare, because we're really good friends and I really want you to talk with them. So in this specific situation, this goes a little bit under control, and we did like a bigger amount of interviews, but it's okay. But what we realized, it's like after 8, in this specific case, because every project is different and also the complexity can change, but after the 5th or the 8th interview, we started to see the patterns, and we started to see that all the information starts to repeat again and again and again. So at the end, we were like, okay, we need to stop this, and it has to finish. But yeah, something that we talk about it's maybe when this happens, or maybe that's something that we would like to do. It's like doing by stages. Like, for example, we now know this, so maybe it would be better if we say to the client, okay, let's stop for now. Do you really want I talk with your user later? Let me organize this information. Let me create, for example, some screens, and I'm gonna talk with the other users that you want that I speak when I already have some wireframes. And when I have some wireframes, at least I can also bring new knowledge, because
So you use the other user as a
exactly.
stage for the user testing for the wireframe.
Exactly, like make it like with a little bit more space of difference. So yeah, that was a quick question, but yes, I think that in a certain point you start to hear the same and the same and the same, and that's the moment to stop, I think.
All right, maybe one final question over here.
Thanks very much. I really liked your quote around getting away from the computer. But how are you guys managing the opposite of going to the computer for validation, for user personas, for journey mapping, for even validation phases? How are you coping with that?
What, like, can you be more specific about your question? Like how, for example, we start to validate all the information?
Yeah, are you finding customers are expecting you to use Gen AI tools to do the validation, or do they still expect you to go out and do it manually, if you like?
Yeah, yes. Well, actually, something that, for example, in this case of the Kinderbank, we're going to do it manually. So we create some personas, and we're going to create these. We are creating these wireframes using these personas, but we need to validate it, because that's what we saw with the research at the beginning. But now we need to know how, like, if this really fits with the screens that we're going to do now. So I think it's to find a little bit the balance of, okay, this is what I did, these are the assumptions that I have, now I have to validate it, now coming back, and I have to validate it. I don't know if I answered your question, but...
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Anyone who speaks at our events gets a highly exclusive, very sought after. You definitely want one.
Thank you.
With that, we have reached the end of our first talk. We will be back here in about 20 minutes. 8 o'clock is when we get started again. Don't worry, I'll shout loud enough so you all hear it again. There is still some pizza in the back. The toilets are back there for those who need it. And we will see you back in 20 minutes.
First part was it? Second part was